All right, today we're going to learn about the algorithm, the standard algorithm for solving long division problems. You guys may have heard of partial quotients. Anybody heard of that? Okay. You may have heard of lots of different methods for division. Right now, today, I am actually teaching you the algorithm, the standard algorithm for long division. For this unit, you must use the standard algorithm because that's what I'm teaching you. After this, if you like partial quotients better or any other method that you've used in the past, you can totally use whatever method works for you. But when I teach you a method, you've got to work on that method till you've mastered it, and then you can pick whatever you want after that. Does that make sense? All right. So the purpose of division is to determine how many times a divisor fits into a dividend. And if you look down here, we showed you where you'll find that stuff depending on how the problem is presented. So in this particular problem, the divisor is the number outside the little house, and the dividend is the number that is under the house. The quotient is what we get when we get our answer to a division problem, okay? When you see it set up this way, because these are equivalent expressions, right? These are both division problems. The dividend is the one that comes first. We're taking that dividend, and we're dividing it up by the divisor, and that's going to give us our quotient, okay? So if you need to refer back to which one's the dividend, which one's the divisor, which one goes in the house, which one goes out, look at the dividend, okay? These are both dividends. And your divisors, look at where they are in those problems. And your quotient, look at where they show up. So those are matching pieces. So when you're setting up a problem to solve it using long division, you need to make sure you put all the pieces in the right place. Does anybody have a question on that? Okay. So let me show you an example, and you have it on your paper, so you don't have to look at it here if you don't want to, but this is the standard algorithm for division. Does anybody use any mnemonic device to help remember it? Like somebody used daddy, mommy, sister, brother, repeat, or Rover. Some people have used does McDonald's sell burgers? Yeah. Any of those will help you remember. This is the algorithm. An algorithm is a repeated process that you do over and over and over again, okay? So an algorithm, in this case, says first we divide, then we multiply, then we subtract, then we bring down the next number, and we repeat the process. Let me show you what that means. So here, first we're going to look. Does 3 go into 7? If I have 7 things, can I make some groups of 3?
Yes.
Yeah, I can. I'll have some leftovers, but I can make some groups of 3, right? If I have 7 things, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I want groups of 3. There's one of them. There's another one, and I still will have one left over, right? But how many total groups can I make? I can make 2 groups. That's where this 2 comes from. Okay? I divided into 7. I got 2. 2 times 3, so the next step is multiply. 2 times 3 is 6, because look, in those 2 groups, I used how many pieces? 6 pieces. That's what this says. When I then subtract in the next step, it tells me how many pieces I had left over. Okay? The next step is, okay, we haven't dealt with that 5 yet. We need to bring it down. So if you notice, they brought it straight on down. Now, instead of looking at how many times 3 goes into 7, I want to know how many times does 3 go into 15. And it turns out that that is what number? 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Then I subtract. And how many remainders do I have left over now? 0. I have no remainders. For today, or for this portion, we're only going to have answers that come out evenly. No remainders yet. We'll deal with that in a few minutes. Okay? Okay. Yes? There are going to be times we have remainders. For this portion of the lesson today, we're only going to practice them without remainders. I'm going to go on to remainders at the halfway point. Clea.
Okay. So, how we did it in 4th and 5th grade, we did it was called the base 7.
The base 7? Oh, big 7. That's partial quotient. That you are welcome to use that after this unit. But for this unit, I have to teach you this method. Okay? Lemo.
Sorry, I was already using this method before.
Awesome. Then you're going to be in good shape if you've already been using it. Dustin.
This is the method that me and Dominic used in AC multiplication.
Perfect. That's great. So let's make sure that we got this, okay? All right, so let's go over here. We're going to do problem number 1 together. So we're going to start with the first number. Can I make a group of 4 out of that 6?
Yes. Yes.
How many groups can I make? One. So the 1 goes above the 6. Notice that the numbers, their placement is very important, right? If it's going into 6, I need to put something above 6. And 4 times 1 is 4. That's going to go right here. That's our multiplication step. Then we subtract, right? What is 6 minus 4? 2. The next step says we bring down, right? So we're going to bring that 8 down into this spot. And how many times does 4 go into 28? And 7 times 4 is 28. And when I subtract, my remainder is 0. And I told you, this page, all of our remainders will be 0. Raphael, you have a question? All right, let's look at it again. Watch me again, okay? 4. We're going to start with the first number. If I can make a group of 4 out of 6, I'm going to do that. And I have one. So if I have 6 things, I can find one group of 4, correct? So that's where this 1 came from. Okay, 4 goes into 6 one whole time. 1 times 4 is this 4. That's the multiplication step. Then I subtract. We're going to repeat the same process over and over. Then I bring down the next number. Then I look. Again, if I have 28 things, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. If I bunch them into groups of 4, how many groups did I make? 7. That's where this comes from. We know that 4 goes into 28 7 times. When I do that, I do the multiplication again, 28, and then I subtract to get 0. So it's divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. We can do it a bunch of times. It's a repetitive step. We'll do a couple more of them. Ready? All right, question number 2. Put your hand down, please. You have a question about that problem?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question? I'm sorry.
So it's almost like the same as before?
It's a little different than partial quotients because you're doing bigger chunks at a time. We're taking it one piece at a time.
I think the way that you're doing is the same way that
You may have already learned that. Mm-hmm.
it's because do the people start by the squares one?
You'll have to show me on paper what you're talking about because I'm not familiar. I may very well be familiar, but I'm not following what you're asking. So show me on paper. All right, question number 2. So we're going to look. Kalia, I want you and Raphael, you guys are going to be the ones to answer for me, okay? So we look at the first digit in our dividend. Does 2 go into 3? Can I make a group of 2 in there? It goes in 1 time. That's the division step, right? If I've got 3 things, Kalia, I can make a group of 2. Then the next step, so after division is what? Multiplication. How many times, when you multiply these, what do you get? 2. Kalia, next step is what? Nope. We did division, multiplication. What's the next step? You got it. So what's 3 minus 2? 1. Then we bring down. How many times does 2 go into 18? 9. That goes up. 9 times 2? 18. When I subtract, I get 0. That's what we're looking for. Does that make sense? One step at a time. Follow the algorithm. Yeah? Clea, are you following me yet? No? All right, hold on. We're going to get there. Lynn, hold on. All right, let's take a look at number 3 because this is a little different. It's got double digits here. Yeah. Lynn, I'll ask, put your hands up and I'll ask you one at a time for each step. So, Lynn, the first step is what? Samuel, please stop throwing things on the floor, honey. It's going to pick up on the recording. Well, does 11 go into 4? No. So notice there's no box up here. Okay? 11, listen, 11 doesn't go into 4. You can put a 0 here. You can put a little X. You can put a little whatever. There is not, it goes into 4 0 times. So we're not going to go there. We got to go to the next step. So what's the next step? We're looking at how many times 11 goes into what?
46.
Into 46. Does everybody see that?
46.
Okay? 4 times. And that's the division part. Terrell, when you multiply 4 times 11, what do you get, honey? 44. Shh. When you subtract, Lucas, what do you get? Lucas. 2. Then the next step, so I did subtraction. What comes after subtraction? Bring down. So the 9 comes down, and I put it here. How many times does 11 go into 29? Hold on, I've talked to you. Hold on. Shh. Dominic. 2. All right. So the 2 goes on top. 2 times 11 is what?
22.
22. Then I what? Subtract. What am I left with? 7. Raise your hand for me. Wilson, what's the next step after I subtract? What? Yeah, you're right. Bring it down. So we're going to bring the 7 down. And raise your hand if you can tell me how many times 11 goes into 7. Melina. 7 times. 7 times 11 is what, guys?
7.
There we go. And when we subtract, we get
0.
0. I'm done because I've got no remainders. Now, I'm only done because all the numbers at the top in my dividend have been brought down. Okay? You may find that you get a 0 somewhere along the way, but you still have more numbers to bring down. Okay? All right, let's take a look at number 4. I want you guys all at your seat. I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer number 4. And then we'll check them to see if they're good. If you finish number 4, go on to the next one. Okay? Okay, that's why I'm teaching it. So give me a second and we're going to go through. Hold on 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, you have a question? All right, well, let's work it through. Watch me. You're going to repeat those same processes. I'm coming over to you in a second. Yes, sir. Okay. All right, let's do number 4 together. Those of you who've done it, you follow along, make sure you're right. All right. The algorithm, I want everybody looking at this real quick. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. That's what we're going to do every time. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. Every time. So let's see how that applies to question number 4. Okay? So 7 goes into 9. We're dividing 7 into 9. How many times does it go, Terrell? Shh. Hey, unless your name is Terrell, I should not hear you guys talking. What? 1 time. There's one, Kalia, there's one group of 7 in 9, right? When I do that, we multiply. 1 times 7 is 7. The next step of the algorithm tells us after we divide, then we multiply, then we what? Subtract. Raise your hand, please, if you can tell me what you get when you subtract. Skylar. You do get 2. After the subtraction step, raise your hand if you can tell me the next step. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madison. You bring down the 8. Okay? Then we divide again. How many times does 7 go into 28? Clea? 4. The 4 goes up here. Then after we divide, we multiply. So 4 times 7 is 28. After we multiply, we subtract. We get 0. We have no more numbers to bring down, so we're done. Amir. Shh. How I got the 4? We were at this 28. How many times does 7 go into 28? When you divide 28 by 7, what do you get? You need to use your division. You can use your multiplication chart, honey. 28 divided by 7 is 4. Does that make sense? That's where the 4 came from. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do one more example that's not doesn't have the guidelines for you, and then I'm gonna turn off the recording so that we can do some practice. Okay. So let's take a look at number 5. All right. Does 9 go into 6? If I only have 6 things, I cannot make a group of 9. So I can put a little 0 up here to remind me that I'm not going into the 6. How many times, raising your hand, does 9 go into 68? Lema. What, honey? 7. And that's the division part. After division, we multiply. What is 7 times 9? 63. After we multiply, we subtract. Shh. I'm going to get a 5. After we subtract, we bring down. How many times does 9 go into 54? 6. And what is 6 times 9? 54. After we multiply, we subtract. Now look, I'm at 0, but I'm not done. Tell me why I'm not done. Skylar. You got it. Every number in that dividend has to come down. And every time we bring a number down, we have to put one up. So we need to bring down this 0. How many times does 9 go into 0? 0. So we've got to put that here. And what is 0 times 9? 0. When I subtract, 0, and I'm done. Okay? So make sure every time you bring a number down, 1 goes up in its place. And if you bring a number, if you have a number in the dividend, all of them have to come down, even if it's 0. Okay? I'm going to pause the recording because that'll be what I post. So make sure you check that out if you need it at home, okay?